fine. Like, he's all right. Like, yeah, this is like family or something. So
It is family. Look, Rashida, I have said this before and I say it again. Somebody looking and say, hey, it's an old Jewish white guy. What does he have in common with these young people, women of color? What? And the answer is, I have more in common with you than the overwhelming majority of my colleagues. Why is that? Because we come from the same place. We talk, we understand each other. We all come from similar, different, but we all come from working class backgrounds. We know what it's like to struggle out there. So you're right. You make me feel less alone. It's true. And I love each of you. I really do. You guys are extraordinary, each in your own way. And just thank you so much for what you're doing. And we're going to go forward together.
Yes, love you. After the election, we're going to squad up and continue to fight every injustice out there. Thank you so much for being with us.
Wasn't that one of the most wholesome things you've seen, at least in a while, in politics? That was Bernie along with the squad. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and they were doing an event to basically help pull the progressive vote to defeat Donald Trump. And at the end there, Bernie really does hammer home the essence of his politics and how women like those in the squad, and a lot of people that will be joining them in Congress in November, are the future of working class politics, and also how they share a common vision and a common experience with Bernie Sanders. Bernie notes that, look, I look different than you women. I am a man. I'm a white man. I don't have the experience of a racialized person, at least not in the traditional sense. And yet I feel that I have more in common with you than I do most of my colleagues, the majority of whom, especially when Bernie went to Congress back in 1990, were white men like him. And it's because of their shared working class origin and their shared values for what needs to happen in the United States, that based on values and based on the actual experience of knowing what it's like to be a regular person, growing up or as a young adult, maybe even into your mid-adulthood, knowing what it's like to struggle, to live paycheck to paycheck, to have to make difficult choices, to sometimes have to choose between your necessities. It's not food and heat and electricity and your cable bill or what have you. It's some of those things for periods in your life. These people realize the struggles that a lot of regular folks have, and they have a common identity there. It doesn't mean that their particular identities are meaningless. It doesn't mean that they have the exact experience, but it means what Bernie and AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib especially, but also Ayanna Pressley at least from time to time, have been talking about, which is that there is a need and an ability to build a common working class experience in the United States, and not even necessarily build it, but reveal it. Reveal the reality that's before people that they maybe don't see. That a working class white man in Nebraska has a lot more in common with a working class Latina woman in Brooklyn than either of them do to Donald Trump or to Chuck Schumer for that matter, or to Nancy Pelosi, or to most people in Congress. And that common working class experience, if they can find a basis of unity, can be the roadmap to things like Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, taxing the rich to pay for the basic necessities that 90% of the population either doesn't get or has to put aside the vast majority of their income just to have a chance at, like education and healthcare and those sorts of things. That's the basis of a new politics. And what's really great there about Bernie as well is that he notes that, you make me feel less alone. And Bernie's noted this more than a few times, even during the primary, that when he started in politics, he was very alone. In the United States especially, it's not like in Europe or even in Canada, where there was organized social democratic and democratic socialist movements. Bernie was basically alone, especially in Washington. There was basically no other socialists around him. even very few progressives, even very few, moderate liberals, pretty much everyone was a center-right ghoul, including every Democratic president during most of his tenure. And now, outside of Congress, through, his movement, but also inside of Congress with the Squad and other folks as well, he finally has allies day to day. And as he notes, I've cast some lonely votes. I've made some lonely speeches. I've taken some lonely crusades, but I'm not nearly as lonely anymore. And that's in part, not all, of course, Bernie's part, but in large part because of Bernie Sanders building and cultivating this movement and getting to see some of the fruits of that movement, including these 4 outstanding young female racialized congresswomen that have working class, regular people origins, fighting for folks in a way that you haven't seen in Congress all that often in, the last 40, 50 years especially. And it's special to see. And one thing, again, I have to note this. Rashida Tlaib makes a great point. The election is just step 1. After the election, which is only a few days away, the real fight begins. Because the goal is to defeat Donald Trump. But even if Donald Trump is defeated, Joe Biden's neoliberal tepidness, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's, desire, and it's going to be a desire to run away from even some of their more basic promises, let alone what Bernie wanted. Even their own promises, they're going to try to water them down and excuse them away. The left inside of the Congress, but also in the streets and on the internet and everywhere else, needs to organize to fight back against that. And these 4 women, along with Bernie and people like Pramila Jayapal and Ro Khanna, and of course you have to add maybe Ed Markey, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, these sorts of folks and some others as well are going to need to play a leadership role in actually getting stuff done. We've talked about it. Bernie and AOC in the last week basically have both said, we want to win this election. It's looking good. But if we take the House and the Senate and the presidency and don't deliver for the people that actually voted for us, the broad, diverse working class, the next Trump will come soon and they will be even worse than Donald Trump. So there's a lot at stake. But one thing is clear. There's not only a lot of anger, at the injustice, which is necessary, but there's a lot of hope, love, and solidarity in this movement. You can't win with either anger or hope alone. I think you need a little bit of both. And right now, I think we have both in spades.